Hello my friends, John LaRuffa here with another Straight Up Solo, and in this episode we're going to take a look at Nova Roma. I'm going to show you what it looks like to play solo, give you a little bit of an understanding of the gameplay, and then let you know what I think about it. Let's get started. Okay folks, and as usual, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. If you have, I do really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Alright, so what's going on in this game? Well, this game is played in 5 rounds, and the main situation with this game is this action selection matrix over here. These different 8 action tiles are put out randomly every game, and what happens is when you start the round, you're going to flip over one of these little tiles, and this tile is going to show you 2 places where you can put Caesar or the Emperor. All right, and you're going to put them you're going to put them in one of those 2 spots. Let's say I put them here. Now in the solo game, you're also going to flip another tile and put 2 Legionnaires blocking some other spaces in this. And these are just blockers. They don't do anything for you but block the space. If there's a piece in one of those spots and it goes to block and it doesn't block it because there's already something there, it'll score a point. And then on your turn, you're going to put one of your patricians down to take 2 actions. The action in this column right here and the action in this row right here. Okay, now if it is by itself, let's say like this, it is a 1 power action. 1 power action for the scroll, 1 power action for the builder. All right, but if it is in the same row as Caesar, well then this action would be 2 power, 1 for Caesar and 1 for you, but this would still be just 1. If on a subsequent turn you had more of your guys in the same row, you could boost things up to even 3 power, okay? And the different levels of power will determine how, let's say, overreaching or powerful the action is. Now, there's many different actions that you can take in this game, and I'm just going to give you a brief overview while I walk around the board. The first one is the sailing action, where depending on your power, you can sail 1, 2, or 3 sail spaces away. They're not necessarily always just spaces because sometimes they require 2 versus 1. And you have to fulfill one of these contracts. And you just pick the contract up and pay whatever it says in the bottom and keep it down here. Now the contracts themselves don't score points, but what they will do is they will allow you to interact with this matrix over here, which will let you put in these achievement tiles, which will score you points or unlock, I shouldn't say unlock, score you points, get some influence or sometimes some money and some other goods, okay? Now the one major thing about this that's important is that whatever you do not claim, the AI will claim for you, but for his own score. So if you neglect this, you're gonna end up giving him the opportunity to score a lot of different things, okay? So that's basically what this action is here. Now, the AI is very aggressive. They will try to move to this finishing spot as soon as they can, and when they do that, they'll go right up to the top point level really quickly. So if you want to score well, you have to make sure that you don't completely neglect. You have to be kind of on it and beat them to the punch. The next thing you have here is this chariot race in the hippodrome spot, all right? And basically this is fairly simple. Depending on the number of power you have, you'll move one of your 3 charioteer tokens up that many spaces. You can also discard some of these artisans to contribute to that move. If at the end of the round you are ahead of the AI in the favored race, you'll get this point total, which is 3, and he will not. If you're not ahead, well then he gets the 3. Also at the end of the game, if you manage to finish in any of these spots, you'll get 5 points, but any spot that he's ahead of you, he will automatically get the 5, and that's the way it's going to go. Now, sometimes when you cross over, excuse me, these specific lines here, you have to pay horses, and so there is a material cost associated with that, and you'll have your goods over here. And when you land on these circles, or these little wheel tokens, you will get to claim either an achievement token, which you're going to use to spend, which is important, to claim an achievement as a free action during your turn, or you could get one of these influence, which you also can spend in different actions. And that's the chariot racing aspect of the game. Then you've got this place where you can recruit. The basic recruit situation is here that you can pick anywhere from 1 to 3 cards, either from the offer or from the top deck, depending on your power, And then depending on the power, it will either cost you 2 coins, 1 coin, or free to play one of the cards you have in your hand into your area. And they will then be activated. And some of them give you 1 time per round powers where you do it and you flip it over. Others of them will score you points at the end of the game, like this one. This one scores for, it's 1 point and then 1 point for every stone you have available or left over, up to 5. And then there are some that are permanent things. Like for instance, this one says, well, no. There's a couple of them that are just permanent that give you something no matter what the situation is for the rest of the game. Here we go. Jeweler. Every time you take that action, you'll go ahead and get a coin. If you have more than 3 and you put down your 4th card, you also have to spend some influence for it, and you can only have a maximum of 7. After you have 7, you have to discard something to place more. So that's what you're doing here. Over here, this is kind of a wild card action. When you take this action, you basically can spend influence equal to the total number or up to the total number of power you have to take any action you want on the board with that power. Over here is where you build up your estate, and you're basically going to be getting influence times the number of power you have out there. You can also spend wine for more influence, and then you can pick one of these tiles, either this bottom one, which will cost you an influence, will cost you a wine to get the tile, or these that are free, or these that cost 1 coin. And you put those in your little matrix over here, and you can put your artisans on them in a different action to produce things. Over here is the market action, which will give you $1 for every power you have. You can discard 2 cards in sets of 2, these cards you don't want to play, for $1, and then you could buy any good you want for $1 a piece. So this action might be necessary if you're running behind or you need something for the cost of other things. Then you've got the production action. For each power you have, you can take artisans from the supply over here, but you can never have more than 3 at the end of your turn. And or you can split up the power and spend wheat to put out an artisan in your matrix to produce. And when you put them out, they produce whatever's on the column and the row, and also whatever they touch. In addition, if you put another one out someplace on the board, they will, both of them will produce again. Same thing, column or row, but not necessarily not what you put it on over here. And so that's a way to produce a lot of resources with this action. And then finally up here is the building action. It has 2 parts. Number 1, you can build a card equal to the player power that you've got or less than. And then when you do that, the card itself is worth points. Like for instance, if I had 2 player power or 2 power, I could build this. This is worth 2 points. I have to spend the wood, the coin, and the stone. But then I'm going to get the, I should say 2, it's 3 points. Clear says 3. I will put this on the board in one of these 3 sections based on the power I have. So if I only have a 1 power, it has to go here. A 2 power could be either or 3 could be all 3. And this is an area majority situation at the end. The person has the most cubes in those areas, and you have to beat the AI, otherwise he wins the ties. You will get the highest, and then the second highest for the person who doesn't. Plus, if you surround one of these little bonus tokens that are dealt out randomly, you will get those specific rewards. But you have to completely surround it, including on the diagonal. And that is all the actions in the game. Now, the game is played 5 rounds. You do 3 actions per round. And so you're looking at 15 actions of various powers throughout the whole game. And then there are some things that let you kind of do other stuff, like these cards, for instance. During a chariot action, I could, if I wanted, I could spend 1 coin to gain or to put an artisan into production. Artisan, I think, into production. And so there's little ways like that where you can kind of enhance your actions through these cards. Okay. The last thing is, we've talked about this a bit, and this is really important. The easy ones, and I'll just show you this. These are random. They luckily fit in there with a little pressure so you can see these. But covering these things up is really important. Not only do they score you 2, 3, or 5 points per space you cover at the end of the game, but they also give you those rewards depending if you fill in the columns, rows, or diagonals. You can only ever fill in 7 of them because there's only 7 of these achievement tokens. And again, whatever you don't fill in, the AI does. Now, at the very end of the game, you score as normal, except the rules say you don't score your animals or your coins or your resources. And I think that's a little bit, I mean, they don't say you don't, they just leave it out. I'm probably going to house rule that to figure out a way to do it for an effective way. Now, I scored in my first game, and I'm playing on the easy mode. I had 95 and the bot had 96, so I lost by 1 point, but it was the first time I played, so I felt like, okay, on easy mode, that kind of makes sense. So we'll see. I might come up with something how to score the animals. The animals are simple set collection. They take up spaces here, but they can give you up to 9 points if you have 3 different ones. The resources are a 2-to-1 exchange for your influence and a 4-to-1 exchange for all the coins and these things you have there. That to me isn't such a big deal. It's more like the animals is a mechanic that would be completely missing and then make a lot of these tiles worthless. So probably figure something out with that in mind. But the AI pretty much is only blocking. They're only blocking. They also score the discarded buildings 1 per round, so they're going to get a little bit of action there. They aren't going to build anything else here. They're going to move their ships once per turn. So if they get there, I think they get there in turn 4, and you're not there, they could score up to 26 points. And then they move these. Other than that, that's pretty much the situation. All right. So let me tell you what I think about it. So Nova Roma is a very solid Euro-style game. The mechanic or the twist is the worker power and putting your guys in certain areas to take combinations of actions at the right time with the most power you can. And that is the wrinkle in this that makes it more fun than just a worker placement game or an action selection game, which is kind of cool. So the order of what you do and the order of how you do it makes a ton of sense. It not only makes sense, it makes it's very important. It's very important to be able to score well. And I think that is the part of this game that's fun, is trying to maximize that while at the same time knowing that the AI could block you in those spots. And if they do, you better have a B plan or something else you can work around. The bot is very competitive, set to easy mode. You know, you basically start with 20 points. If you go to medium, it's 30. If it's hard, you go to 40. But it's very easy to run. So this is one of those very, very like hands-off denial bots, more than less. It provides pressure in the fact that if you're going to want to score well, you're going to need to be careful not to let them get too many of the boats. If they beat you to those spots, they're going to get a lot of points there. It's going to be tough. Also, if you let them take too many high-powered buildings, it's going to be tough. And if you let them just continue to win in the chariot race, I mean, it's going to be tough. So it's not like it's complete denial. They do provide the pressure to be able to say, I got to deal with this. Otherwise, they're gonna do way better than me in these areas, which I think is important. Otherwise, it would just be a little bit underwhelming, I think. So I enjoy the game. I think that it does a lot of similar things that we've seen before, but does it with a little bit of that wrinkle in making sure that you have to maximize the power of your worker. So definitely a cool game to check out if you like medium Euros. This one hits the bill there. Not really that tough to learn. The rules are pretty well done, but what I will say about the rules, which is very nice, is that the actions in their entirety are all listed on the back. So you can read this entire rule book once, and then when you get down to it, just look at the back to experience the first game, and you're pretty much going to be just fine. I mean, I had to look up very, very little things. It for the most part, really was well handled there. And the AI being so simple, not a very big deal at all. There's some small little wrinkles and changes in the way they do the cleanup phase versus the way you do it in the normal multiplayer mode, but it's minimal at best. So I think it's a pretty good game. It's one that you want to check out if you like this kind of style. If you have a lot of Euro games already, I would say that this one doesn't necessarily blow away like some, race to the top of some particular pillar that says like, this is the best type of this game. I think this is a good game that will be fun to play in a medium setting and does a lot of things nicely. And it is tight. It's not a loose and flabby game. You got to pay attention, and you really can't let the AI get a number on you with the certain areas, or you're going to score pretty poorly. So I like that. And it definitely provides you, especially with the production mechanic and how you want to set yourself up, it provides you with some good, chin scratching moments here, trying to figure out, all right, I need to take that action, but at a 1 power, that's not that great. If it could get a 2 power, it'd be a little bit better. But even still, the 1, 2, and 3 power situation isn't to the point where the entire game revolves around having to maximize that. You can still do just fine with lower power actions, but they're definitely helpful, especially in certain areas, like the more power for the chariot race one. That's really key. The more power for the production one, really key. You can get away with less power for some of the other ones when you don't need to necessarily take as many cards from the offer, or don't need to go deep into the building situation because there's already a good building kind of in the front. So I like that it doesn't just say, hey, you got to get these maximized actions, and really that's it. That's the way you play the game. You have to put these things in a row, and that's how you're going to do it, and it doesn't make any sense to do anything differently. No. So it's a lot to think about, but not overwhelming by any means. A lot to consider, and it's fun. That's the way I feel about it. Let me know what you think. Either way, I really hope that whatever you play in the future, you have a fantastic time doing it. Take it easy, everybody.